Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. My heart exults in the Lord. My strength is exalted in my God. My mouth derides my enemies, because I rejoice in my victory. There is no Holy One like the Lord, no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. That's how the Song of Hannah begins in 1 Samuel 2, and she had every reason to exult in God. Hannah has always seemed to me to be an overlooked woman in the Bible story, but she is truly significant. This week we are looking at some women of renown in the Bible, how they overcame the odds stacked against them with God's help, and how they glorified God in a society where they didn't typically have much standing. And today we want to look at Hannah, the mother of Samuel. Hannah's story goes back a long way, back to the time of the judges, before there were kings or even really a nation called Israel. At this time, they were really just a loose confederation of tribes linked together, and there was a man from the tribe of Ephraim whose name was Elkanah. It was Elkanah's habit to go from his town to Shiloh every year to worship and to make sacrifices to God, and he would take his wife Hannah with him. Now, as far as we can tell, Elkanah and Hannah had a good marriage, but still Hannah wasn't happy. In an age when a woman's purpose was to have children, Hannah had been unable to conceive. On top of that, Elkanah had another wife as well, named Peninnah, who had many children and who used to chide Hannah about having no children. This distressed her greatly, and so one year as they came to the place of worship in Shiloh, Hannah went and presented herself before God in the place of worship. There she poured out her heart earnestly in prayer, so deeply stirred that while her mouth was moving, no sound came out. Again, in those days, praying that way was highly unusual. The priest Eli saw her and thought she was drunk and told her to leave. But Hannah had been praying a special prayer that if God would grant her a child of her own, she would give the child to God's service ever after. When Eli learned of this, he prayed also that God would grant her prayer. Now, before we go on with Hannah's story, we might notice the good model of stewardship that Hannah provides. She took the blessing God had given her and gave it back to God. It's a profound model of trust. Anyway, then Hannah, Elkanah, and Peninnah went home, and sure enough, Hannah soon conceived and bore a son whom she named Samuel. And when Samuel was weaned, probably about age 3, she took him back to Shiloh and left him with the priest there to spend his life serving God. That's when Hannah breaks into her song of praise to God for how God had blessed her, and it's a remarkable song. As you have heard already, it opens describing the holiness and greatness of God, but then it goes on to talk about how God is greater than the most powerful on earth, and how those who think they are powerful are really nothing. She sings of God lifting up the lowly and setting all the wrong things of the world right. Hers is a song of trust and hope and giving God glory. Now, I think there are several things there for us to see. The first is that perhaps praise of God is far too often neglected in our own prayers. I suspect that when many of us pray, we jump right to our want list, the things we want God to do for us. And I further suspect that many of us don't spend much time in our prayers thanking God and giving God praise for all God has done in our lives. The praise we offer during Sunday worship is often the only praise of God we ever do. But Hannah teaches us that God should be praised over and over and over. The other thing to notice relates to another young woman with an unexpected child who also sang a song of praise to God for this gift. Mary, the mother of Jesus, sang the Magnificat, praising God for what God was doing in saving God's people through her baby. And if you take the time and look at the two songs, Hannah's and Mary's, you will find that they say similar things, praising God for raising up the lowly and setting the world right. It's amazing that almost 12 centuries apart, these two women celebrate the gift of God in such similar songs of praise. May we look to all that God has done in our lives and sing God's praise as well. May our hearts exult in the Lord. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.